Hey guys, what is up? Kid here, Burn1 with the Shadowverse Evolved channel, bringing you another deck profile. I know a lot of people have been looking for this Cosmic Mythos meta control Haven list because they've heard a lot of good things about Aether of the White Wing, and I'm here to give you the sauce. So let's just get right into the video. Alright, so here's the deck itself. It has a lot of one-ofs in the list. It'll make a lot of sense once I go through why we have all these one-ofs. Well, let's just get into the deck profile. Obviously, we're a control deck. Bellringer Angel is just so good. Where you have it stops aggression, it draws us a card, adds that consistency. We play one of the Evo for removing early game followers. Yeah, I mean, Bellringer Angel is going to be here for like ever, it feels like. Angelic Snipe as a 2-of. We want some early game interactions to remove some of the early aggressions if we don't draw our Bellringer. That way, if we pass on one with no turn 1 play, when we at the end of our opponent's turn, we can just remove their follower. Solid card all around. We're the control archetype. If you feel like that you're not using it as much, you can always cut this and play some other things in the mid game to shore up some of the matches you might have trouble with. One of Dark Offering. There's a lot of things in this list we want to Dark Offering off, get some free heals in and a draw for more consistency. Aegis itself can't be destroyed, so this is a good card to target with Aegis as well. Solid card overall, combat trick. So if our opponent's barely gonna end our life, we can Dark Offering, live for a turn, and then restabilize from there. Solid card all around. Bellringer Angel is a really good target as well. And also, we play Snow White in this list, which is another great target for Dark Offering. Guardian Sun, we're obviously on the Aegis game plan, so obviously we need to be playing Guardian Sun because we can set up Aegis and then Guardian Sun, and then usually it's really hard for our opponent to end our game from there because there's this unmovable wall that they can't get through unless they can burn us out. Or if we're playing against Elephant, which in that case, that's a really big one, and we're forced to always have 4 play points up because Elephant is just a dumb deck. All right, we are playing 2 Sacred Pleas. We need some gas in this deck along with our orbs, which we'll be talking about later. This is a solid turn 1 play that can turn into 2 draws later on when we have extra play points just floating around. We want hand size as well because a lot of times there are situations where we have to play Aegis on 8 and discard 3 cards immediately to Evo to remove some horrible followers we don't want to be seeing on the board, and just generating a threat immediately that our opponent will have to deal with. Princess Snow White, this is one of my favorite 2-drops for Haven. It just has so much value. 2/2 ward that becomes a 3/3 ward, so it recycles itself, forcing our opponent to trade their followers into this, and then it just keeps coming back over and over again. I really like this card a lot. I could see it being cut completely if you feel like you're not getting a lot of value off of it, but I think you're going to find enough value and it slows down the game enough for you where you're just not taking some extra swings of damage, so you're able to get to that mid to late game to stabilize and build this board that's like unstoppable. One of Blackened Scripture. I want to have a lot of two play point removal in this list, so I opted to go 1 Blackened Scripture, 3 Surefire Bullets because of the next card we'll be talking about after Surefire Bullet. Solid card, you know, a lot of Bellringers floating around. Just remove a Bellringer, they lose a draw, which is always good. And a lot of just random 3 defense followers running around. We can just remove easily. Solid card over around, quick as well. Surefire Bullet, once again, dealing 3 damage or 4 on Evo followers. Lots of followers will be running around that have 4 health. It's good into the Egg Haven match, good into Sword, good into Dragon, good to everything. It's just a solid removal spell. So this is the reason why we're looking to play a lot more 2-drop removal, or just have access to it so we can always threaten it. It's because of this card. So on play, we got to search for an amulet. We don't have a ton of amulets in this deck, so sometimes you might just like globe into a globe. But otherwise, we are looking to grab, if we have no really good turn 3 play, Elena's Prayer is all right. We're looking to grab our Sacred Pleas, otherwise, or even Guardian Sun for later in the game. If we're playing against Abyss, though, you don't want to search this out early. But otherwise, Globe of the Starways. Oh man, that name. Solid card. You might just, you know, like I said, search itself out again because it's such a good card. But the secondary effect is what makes it like pretty spooky, is because anytime we leave up 2 play points, if our opponent doesn't present something to us where like Surefire Bullet or Blackened Scripture or Angelic Snipe is really going to close close out that attack or remove a follower for us, so we don't need to. We can just use the quick ability on this, which is pay 2, tap itself, send this to the cemetery. We heal 1 and draw a card to add some consistency there. So for example, we leave 2 play points up. We're ready to surefire bullet their like any Evo they decide to play down. That becomes a 4/4. This turn they just don't play anything threatening we really care about. We crack this amulet at the end of their turn, and then going back into our turn, we can deal with their board then. It's a really good way to, not lose value on those turns where we are holding up play points to, threaten removal. If our opponent decides to play something where either we can't remove and so forth, before we lost the value of those play points, we've essentially lost any true value of maximizing our play points we get each turn, because we're always given play points and our resources are just basically handed to us every turn for free. So anytime we don't get to use a play point, we're just losing value immediately. This makes it so that we don't always lose that value. And in some cases too, if you are forced to hold up 4 play points and you play a globe and you have 2 globes out there, you can crack the globe at end of turn as well, and draw 2, heal 2, and so forth. I really, really like this card. I think it helps a lot with just the general game plan of control, because I think one of the biggest issues with control is that we don't have ways to present followers onto the board if our opponent decides not to do anything, and we're like basically holding up play points to hopefully not, like, for example, die to Genesis Dragon, and turns out they decide not to make that play. Now we have something to do with those play points, and before, not having anything to do with it and basically wasting like 4 play points because we just had to pass to make sure we didn't like lose to like Genesis Dragon or something, always felt bad. Now this kind of fixes that a little bit, which I really, really like, and it's a really great card. Or control, Priestess of the Cudgel. We're gonna remove things, and like we want a 2-for-1 win possible. So Priestess of Cudgel, solid card overall. We do play 3 of the Evo because we have a lot of free Evo slots in this deck, which is one of the nice things. So that means any Cudgel you see is always going to be activated, which means sometimes your opponent sees you use 2 Cudgels, they don't expect the third, and it comes down to like, great, I've lost out here. We play 1 Alana's Prayer because it's another amulet we can search out with the globe, but I really like it because it combos so well with Kaguya. It creates some of our followers into the mid to late game become very big boss monsters over time because we have so many ways to heal. But the big thing obviously is we search out Alana's Prayer early on so we can hold on to it, either present it on 3 if we have nothing really to do. Otherwise, when it gets to the point where we can go Aether Wing, Kaguya plays Alana Prayer from our hand, and then we can do things like on our opponent's turn heal, buff up our board, and now these followers, we have these mid-range followers like Curate and Kaguya, Jean, even Cudgel, start getting out of control and getting so big and so powerful so fast because of Alana's Prayer, because we have ways to heal on our opponent's turn and heal on our turn as well in this deck, obviously. Jean d'Arc, our board wipe tool of choice. It's solid follower all around. If we have extra followers on the board, the Evo does heal them or buff up their health a little bit more even. This is our board wipe as long as there's like 4 less damage on the board that we need to do to each follower, then this will clear up the board. Good against aggro. Card solid all around. We play 3 of the Evo. We just have extra Evo slots. We have nothing else we're really looking to Evo, so this feels like a very good card to have a third of. A lot of games, you can make cheeky plays late game with this card because you have the third Evo, or once again, your opponent doesn't expect the third John Evo and they get blown out by it. Alkalight's Light, it's our removal of choice. It's the best 4-drop removal that's quick, that also heals us, banishes the follower, so any last words that happen, we don't have to worry about. That's basically it. It's a good card. If we end up using it on our opponent's turn with Alana's Prayer out, we get to buff our board, which is good. 1 of Kaguya, because a lot of the times we're either drawing into Kaguya and playing it from hand. Otherwise, what we're looking to do with this card itself is play it off of Aether of the White Wing. On 7, we can play Kaguya. Kaguya will play out our Alana's Prayer if we have it in hand. Otherwise, we can play Globe and grab something else with it. But we develop that board. That way, our board starts getting out of control with Alana's Prayer on the board. I only really like Alana's Prayer if we're able to cheat out with Kaguya. Kaguya also coming out dealing 3 damage to something, since whenever we play an amulet from hand with Kaguya on the board, we get to deal damage of that amulet, where damage is how much that amulet costs itself. We don't really play a lot of other amulets in this deck, and I feel like playing more than one Alana's Prayer will brick you more often than not, because a lot of times you have to make sure that your draws are very valuable, and we don't want to like have a dead draw too often. So having only one Alana's Prayer and being able to search it out with a globe seems fine to me. If it gets answered, it gets answered. It's not our main game plan, but there's also not too much amulet hate going around. So I think once one is developed, then you're basically fine for the rest of the game. Kaguya, we play one of the Evo. Like I said, this is not too of an important card, but if we're able to, Kaguya Evo summons its Ephemeral Moon, so our 5/5 now can swing into something and not have to trade. And if we've already developed Alana's Prayer on the board as well, this card on Evo heals us 3, which means this becomes a 6/6 immediately, and we can swing in with that. And at 6/6, it's kind of hard to remove, since Conflag can't remove it. That means they're required to use 2 cards usually to remove their 1 Kaguya, and Kaguya usually gets a lot of value by getting to remove something through the amulets coming to board on the turn at Evos. Themis Decree, sometimes we just go, well, board state looks pretty bad, let's just blow it up, everything up, and go back to neutral. That's all we can ask for this card. And obviously we play it as a 3-of, because if things get out of control, we just want to reset the game, because if we can reset the game enough and slow down the game plan and stabilize, then we're good to go. Also, obviously, combos with Heavenly Aegis. We play Heavenly Aegis and have it warded up and so forth. And if we need to remove the board after Heavenly Aegis is on the board, it doesn't get removed by abilities or destroyed by abilities. So Themis Decree will not destroy Aegis itself, which means we get to keep our followers, or our 1 follower, while our opponent loses everything on the board, and then Aegis is able to swing in. Themis Decree, super good card. Might be able to cut it down to 2-of instead of a 3-of, but I think it's just important enough sometimes where you're just like, well, there's something I can't answer on the board and I can't target it because it has aura, and I just need a Themis Decree. And so right now I've been pretty satisfied with 3, but I could totally see it being cut down to 2. So I want to, before I talk about some of these curate, well, actually, we'll just talk. We have a 1 of Curate. It's a card that helps us stabilize. It heals on play and draws a card, so it replaces itself. And if we already develop Alana's Prayer, it becomes a 6/6, which is scary. Immediately, it's harder to remove. But the whole reason we play Curate is because Aether of the White Wings effect, this is a 3/5 7-drop ward. You search your deck for a Havencraft follower, and then with a different name than this card, and that costs less than your current maximum play points, and then you put it onto the field, which means a lot of times on 7 we can go ahead, drop Aether of the White Ring into Curate if it's still in our deck, which feels very powerful. Otherwise, another great target is Kaguya. And then at higher play points, obviously on turn 8 we can play TM Opera, which will banish a follower on the board and draw us a card. So it's unconditional and replaces itself when it comes into play, which means that as long as there's no aura on the card and there's something we're scared of, for example, like an Israfil, we can Aether the White Ring, pull out TM Opera, and banish that card away, while also drawing a card and replacing a card in our hand, which is super powerful. But obviously, the namesake of the deck is Aegis, and Aegis is a card which we will pull out very often with Aether the White Ring. Usually on turn 9, the game plan is Aether the White Ring, pull out Heavenly Aegis, pay 1 for the amulet to come into play to give it ward, discard 3 cards, go ahead and Evo, which we play 2 of the Evo into this behemoth of a 10/10 aura. It also can be destroyed by effects, obviously, and doesn't and it won't take damage till the end of your opponent's next turn, which is busted in that sense, which means once we have a ward, this 10/10 up on Evo, no damage is going through, unless obviously we're playing against Forest Elephant, which in that case they get an ignore ward, in which case we need to be a little bit more careful in those matchups depending on our game plan. Otherwise, yeah, unless they're going to burn us out with like Silverboard or something. Honestly, the only bad matchup for Heavenly Aegis, once you develop the board with the ward out, is honestly, it's probably just Forest for the most part. And I guess Discard Dragon is always going to be a rough matchup for this deck for the burns, but I feel like you can kind of outvalue them here and hopefully win that way. But Storm on Forte with Aura is busted. Them finding multiple rights is pretty busted. So sometimes those games are just so hard to actually win. But I feel like we have the tools to really get there and hopefully push out victories that way. But yeah, that's the deck itself. The deck is a lot of fun overall. If you're a control player, you'll like this deck a lot. There's definitely room to readjust ratios or cut cards and put in new cards depending on the meta you are locally. So be sure to try this deck out if you're into the whole Heavenly Aegis control package stuff, because I think this deck kind of has a little bit of everything to combat everything, so you never feel like you're really losing the game outright. Yeah, so with that being said, hopefully you guys like this deck profile. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Heavenly Aegis control package stuff, because I love Control Haven in general. I'm waiting for the next set once it gets even more support, and I'm interested what the community will be playing for their version of the list. With that being said, if you like the video and all that, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see you guys in the next video. Later, everyone.